Jets training camp is right around the corner. Literally, folks. The Jets just announced today the official dates that training camp is open to the public. Us Jets fans are going to get an opportunity to be at One Jets Drive to watch Aaron Glenn, Justin Fields, and the boys kick off Jets training camp 2025. I'm your host, Richie Malora, and I cannot wait for Jets training camp. As you guys know, I'm somebody that loves going to training camp, loves creating content on it. I'm really excited to be live right now on Bleacher Report, talking all things New York Jets. This is going to be a deep dive into everything you need to know heading into training camp for the New York Jets. There's a lot of storylines, a lot of narratives out there that I want to talk about with you all, because I think that as a Jets fan base, as training camp, preseason, the regular season all starts to come together, I think that there's a sense of excitement that should be completely surrendered to if you're a Jets fan. So let's break it all down right here on Jets Media. Shout out to everybody tuning on in to Jets Media. I cannot thank you guys enough for all the consistent support you guys show on Bleacher Report. Let's get straight into it. So the first guy I want to talk about regarding the preview of what we need to know, I mean, it's the guy that every single Jets fan is going to have their close eyes on. It's going to be Mr. Justin Fields and Garrett Wilson, that duo. Now, the reason why I want to start off with them, because I think there's a big, what's the word you want to use, right? I don't want to use distraction yet, because I think that the Garrett Wilson contract extension and the Sauce Gardner contract extension, like, that is something that's still on the top of a lot of people's minds. In terms of when is that going to happen? Is that ever going to happen? Are we going to go into the season without it? But I don't want to focus on the contract extension talk in this show. I want to dive deep into the roster and what to be excited about and what to be concerned about if you're a Jets fan. So starting off with Garrett Wilson and Justin Fields, what that connection is going to look like. I mean, I have a feeling that you look at all the videos that you're seeing of Justin Fields out there training in the offseason right now, cleaning up his footwork. You see him training with C.J. Stroud. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that I'm going into the season with the most exciting energy of Justin Fields going to break out, going to be our quarterback for the future. Like, no, I'm not there, all right? I'm someone that, at this point of being a Jets fan, I need to see it before I can believe it. Now, I'm going to talk about the potentials of both sides. Justin Fields looking great with the Jets, Justin Fields struggling and moving on, because those are the only two options that Jets really have. It's either Justin Fields goes out there this season, plays well enough to prove to be a winning quarterback where we want to bring him back in 2027 to be the starter, or they go a different direction, go into the draft. Now, him having Garrett Wilson is going to be a completely different experience for Justin Fields. And for those of the people that are the haters, oh, Justin Fields can't throw, Garrett Wilson's going to have a bad season. If you go look at what he did in Chicago with DJ Moore in 2023, DJ Moore put up a really good season, all right? Put up like 1,300 yards or something like that. Put up a fantastic season. So Justin Fields understands how to get the ball to the number one receiver. And not only is it just your normal number one receiver, it's Garrett Wilson. It's the guy you went to college with, all right? So I think that this tandem of Justin Fields and Garrett Wilson could take the league by storm. It absolutely could. And the reason why it could take the league by storm is not only the talent of Justin Fields and the talent of Garrett Wilson, but it's also the belief that Aaron Glenn has in Justin Fields. It's the belief, and I think it starts with the head coach. It always has been and always will start with Aaron Glenn. And there's a new era of Jets football. And you talk about training camp, what to expect from this team heading into training camp. There's going to be a different shift of identity, a different shift of culture when it comes to Aaron Glenn compared to what we've seen in the past with guys like Robert Saleh and Adam Gase and Todd Bowles, right? That we don't know who Aaron Glenn is yet as the Jets head coach, and he's instilling a new energy, a different mindset that I think that is absolutely what this Jets team needs. Now, we don't know if it's going to translate to wins. We don't know how long that's going to take, but I'm a Jets fan that's going into this season with Aaron Glenn with the most open-minded energy. Go out there and ball out and prove who you are. Go out there and prove that you can be this coach for the future, because that's really what it's all about, in my opinion. Is Aaron Glenn the guy that can lift up this organization from the gutter? Because that's where this team is. And if you want to compare it to the Knicks, for example, Tom Thibodeau was the one that came to the Knicks, lifted them out of the gutter, brought them into the playoffs, brought them into contention. The Knicks decided to move on from him after 5 years of success, in my opinion, and now they decided to move in a different direction. Completely different story here. The only reason why I bring that up is the Knicks were in a deep playoff drought. They had no hope, and then a coach came in, and there's a big difference between Thibodeau with the Knicks because he actually had experience before. This is Aaron Glenn's first opportunity. It's a different sport, of course, so you don't want to read too much into it. The hope is that this is the Dan Campbell story, right? If you're a Jets fan and you look at Aaron Glenn, you're hoping that it's a Dan Campbell effect. Now, I want to remind everybody the Dan Campbell effect, the Lions started 0-10-1 in their first season with Aaron Glenn as the defensive coordinator, Dan Campbell as the head coach. And then they got hot late in the season. And then in year 2, they showed signs of promise. And then year 3, they blew up. And then year 4 was this past year. And now Aaron Glenn's the head coach. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah, the Jets get a pass if they start 0-10. No, that's a disaster. But this team is way too talented to not believe they can accomplish something. And I think the cool thing about the season 2 is expectations of Jets fans, they're not ridiculous. With Justin Fields at quarterback, we're not looking at him thinking like, yeah, this is Aaron Rodgers. This is a 4-time MVP. This is a Super Bowl champion. We should be great. No, that's not the energy. That's not the energy. With Justin Fields, it's a different feeling. And the feeling with Justin Fields is more about, can he be that next guy that proves himself? And you look at the tape, you look at all things about Justin Fields and what he's done in his career up until this point. Like, I'm sorry, but if you want to find one individual that can write a similar story as a Geno Smith or a Baker Mayfield or a Sam Darnold, like Justin Fields has everything he possibly needs to be a quarterback, to be that next guy that was looked at as a bust to break out into a legit starting quarterback. We're not asking for Justin Fields to be top 10. We're just looking at him thinking to ourselves, can he be someone that we can win with? Can he put up numbers enough to have a sense of confidence as a fan going into games? That, yeah, we could win with this guy. He could be a difference maker. He can go out there in the clutch and make a big-time play. Like, I'm really intrigued to see what he looks like. And in training camp, that's where you're going to see a lot of different energy. You're going to see Justin Fields struggle in training camp. You're going to see him thrive. You're going to see a play that's going to be out of this world. And I want to make sure that we don't read too much into what happens at training camp, because I'm going to remind you guys, Zach Wilson balled out in training camp, and then he stunk in the regular season, obviously. So even if Justin Fields looks fantastic in training camp, it does not guarantee he's going to break out. We got to wait for the regular season. That's where we're going to figure this whole thing out. And we're also not going to find out in the first week of the season against the Pittsburgh Steelers or week 2. It's going to be the full 17-game sample size. That's what we need. And I don't want to be that guy to preach patience, but I think that if you're a Jets fan, you got to give this team space and time to deal with adversity, to figure themselves out. Everything's new. And if you're a fan demanding and expecting excellence right out of the bat, like, you got to realize that's not where this team is. That's where expectations were last year. Come out of this swing of things on fire and win some games. And we did. We were 2-1 last year after blowing out the New England Patriots week 3, Thursday Night Football. Aaron Rodgers balled out. At that point last season, we were like, yep, finally it's coming together. And then it all went downhill, right? So you got to be able to handle adversity. If this Jets team starts 2-5, I'm not hitting the panic button. Obviously, it depends on what's going on. There needs to be context. Is there injuries? Is Justin Fields is looking so bad? Like, there's context to be had there. But this team is going to be built on adversity. That's my point. That I don't know if Jets fans understand what I mean by that. This team needs to go through pain and suffering and losing and people pointing fingers at each other in order for them to actually figure out who they are. That's exactly what the Detroit Lions did. The Lions went through the worst start you can possibly imagine for a brand new regime under Dan Campbell. You can't even sketch up a worse start. 0-10. They got their first win in week 11 or something, right? But the ownership gave them confidence as a coaching staff. They believed in this coach. They weren't going to blow it up. The fans were obviously frustrated at 0-10, but they gave this coaching staff an opportunity in Detroit to prove themselves of how they handle adversity. That is what needs to happen with this Jets team. I'm not sitting here saying the Jets got to go 0-10 before we figure things out, but it's going to be a very interesting season. So you talk about training camp, you want to go deeper into battles and positions to look at, offensive line, right? Let's talk about the offensive line real quick, because PFF came out with their grading, right? And they have the New York Jets. PFF has the New York Jets as ranked the 9th best offensive line in football entering the season. I want that to sink in, Jets fans. We have an offensive line that, according to PFF, that I value PFF. They believe that this Jets offensive line, led by Olu Fashanu at left tackle, is 9th in the NFL entering this season. And the reasoning behind it is the individual success of Olu when he played in a small sample size, Joe Tippmann, AVT. Like, the Jets offensive line last year, they all played well individually, but they failed as a unit. And that's all that matters, is they need to be a unit. They need to be cohesive. They need to connect on a string. They need to communicate. And that's going to start with coaching. And the Jets don't have Keith Carter anymore. So I'm really excited. Like, if there was one position group heading into training camp that I'm going to keep my eyes on the most, it's going to be the offensive line. Are they healthy? And are they showing signs of improvement week by week? They're probably going to have days where they look terrible, where they get roasted by Quinnen Williams and Will McDonald and the boys. And there may be some games where, some practices where they assert their dominance. We have a joint practice this year with the New York Giants. And the Giants, they have the best front seven, I'll argue, in the league. Like, one of the best. With Abdul Carter, Brian Burns. I mean, it's unbelievable. I'm excited to see this offensive line go up against them in the preseason and in training camp. And I'm excited. Like, you talk about Olu Fashanu. This could be the guy that we've been waiting for so long. We thought Mekhi Becton could be this guy. No, it was not. Sorry, but Mekhi Becton failed, thrived. Now he's a Super Bowl champion. Whatever. But Olu Fashanu could right the wrongs. And I got a lot of confidence in him. So the offensive line is going to be a big, big position that this Jets fan base is going to keep a close eye on, for all the reasons of understanding that if this offensive line starts to click, that is the key to the success of the New York Jets. If you look up and you look at the Jets' offensive line, moving people in the run game and protecting Justin Fields, they can win football games that way. They can beat a good team. They can go into a game when they're not favored to win and beat that squad. So the Jets being ranked as a top 10 offensive line just shows that they have everything they possibly need on paper. But is it actually going to connect? Is it actually going to come together and thrive? That's the big question, folks. That's the big question. And I think that's going to happen. And, I think we talk too much about the offense because it's such a mystery. The defense is not talked about enough. And, Sauce Gardner, if this Jets defense, if they want to be one of the best defenses in the league, or one of the best, or just a very good defense, I'm sorry, but Sauce has to wake up a little bit in terms of being that top-tier lockdown corner. I'm not going to put all the pressure on Sauce, but he wants to get paid the big bucks. I'm hopeful that he'll get paid the big bucks. I think he's deserved his contract. But Sauce Gardner better revert back to that rookie season in year 2, being that first team, second team All-Pro. He's an All-Pro talent. And if he's not an All-Pro this season, then we're going to have that conversation. Okay, Sauce looked fantastic year 1 and 2, but then he's maybe not as good as we thought. I think Sauce Gardner is going to be an absolute beast. I think we still have not even seen the best version of him. He said that he's the fastest and the biggest and the strongest he's ever been. I think this new coaching staff is going to spark a different version of Sauce that we've never seen. I think he's going to be a little bit more opportunistic in terms of creating turnovers, focusing on interceptions, something that he did not do. Robert Saleh and his coaching staff, for whatever reason, the scheme was not friendly to turnovers. Nobody got interceptions. Nobody poked the ball out. Nobody knew how to recover a fumble. So I'm hopeful that Steve Wilks and this Jets defensive coaching staff is going to unlock a new version of Sauce Gardner. So he's the cornerstone of the defense. We go as Sauce goes. Because if he can lock down his side of the football field and lock down everybody's favorite number one receivers, then we're all good. And then the defensive line can get worked. Quinnen Williams, what is he going to look like? Big Q. We need to see him as a big jump. But we're not going to talk about the stars anymore. Let's talk about the guys that needs to have a really good training camp to prove themselves in this league. But more specifically, to make the 53-man roster, too. Right? Like, we need these guys to prove that they are good enough to make the 53-man roster. And there's one player I'm really intrigued by, and that's Leonard Taylor III. Now, I think he's, I don't want to say a lock, but I'd be shocked if he does not make the roster. He's going to make the team. But he is my guy that I'm looking closely at in training camp this year. Is he showing strides? Because the Jets brought in a lot of defensive tackles in free agency. 3 of them. All vets. Derek Nottie, Byron Cowart, another one. Like, there's 3 veterans they brought in, and you got Quinnen Williams, and you still got Michael Clemens. So there's a lot of bodies on the defensive tackle position. And Quinnen Williams, he needs to level his game up to being that top-tier defensive tackle that we know he's capable of. And then that'll open up everything around him. But Leonard Taylor III, very intrigued by him because I still believe he could be a star in this league. He can be a difference maker getting to the quarterback. He showed so much promise when given that small sample size. I'm very excited about him. Absolutely very excited. Now, when we're going to training camp as fans and you want to look for a star, like something to catch your eye of somebody that's new, somebody that may actually level up his game to a level that not a lot of people ever expected when we drafted him, right? And I think you guys know exactly where I'm going with this. Yeah, you do, Mr. Will McDonald. Because Will McDonald is my pick for the breakout party for this Jets football team. He's my pick, man. I think he is going to break out. And not just break out into a quality good player, because he did that already last year. 10.5 sacks. I think Will McDonald is the guy that's going to break out to be a star. I believe he has 13 to 15 sacks in his capability. He's a first-round pick for a reason. And if he can just get it to the point where his muscle mass matches his athleticism and his bend and his ability to spin in and outside, maybe even adding some power to his game, setting the edge in the run game. Like, bro, I don't know if you guys watched the film, but every time I turn on the tape and I watch Will McDonald, I'm like, if he can be consistent, like, you're talking about one of the better pure pass rushers in the league. There's not a lot of players in the league at his position that can do the things that he does. You're talking about guys like Max Crosby. His spin move is unblockable, basically. And I would argue Will McDonald's spin move is on that level. Maybe a level below, because Max Crosby is a household name, Pro Bowler, like very, very, very good football player. And he's not there yet, McDonald. Absolutely not. He needs to prove it. But he is my pick, so watch him in training camp. Because I think the momentum that he is going to carry into the season is going to be monumental. So I'm excited for Will McDonald. I think he has a chance to break out into stardom this year. And if there's a player that you think could break out to be a star, let me know, because my pick is Will McDonald. I'm very, very intrigued by him to see what he does under Aaron Glenn. Now let's stay on the defensive side of the football, because there's another player I wanted to talk about he's not entering a new role, but he kind of is at the same time. And this is going to be arguably the most important player on this entire defense this year, because we have a new captain. We have a new man in charge on defense. All right? And that's Jamie and Sherwood, folks. We have a brand new captain. C.J. Mosley's gone, bro. C.J. Mosley is gone. And C.J. Mosley did such a fantastic job of being the captain of this defense, being the leader, holding everybody accountable, right? Even when he made some mental mistakes, he was always there to hold himself accountable, call out plays, just a very high football IQ, right? And now Jamie Sherwood, he got paid the big bucks to be the face of that defense, to be the quarterback of the defense. And the cool thing about this, about Sherwood, folks, is that Robert Saleh and his coaching staff, they're the ones that developed him. They're the ones that got him to the player that he is today. And the fact that Aaron Glenn and this coaching staff saw everything they needed to in Jamie Sherwood enough to bring him back and pay him that type of contract, that tells you the level of confidence they have in Jamie to be the Mike linebacker. And that's a very important position in an Aaron Glenn defense, is being that linebacker in the middle of the football field, going sideline to sideline, covering the middle of the field, blitzing when you need to. He was top 5 in the league in tackles last year, folks. He got paid for a reason. So I'm really excited to see. And at training camp, I'm going to watch. Is he vocal? Because you go to training camp for the Jets and you see C.J. Mosley at work, right? He is just calling everything out. He's ahead of this everything. He's anticipating plays. Like, does he have that intuitive feeling like C.J. Mosley did such a great job at his entire career with the Jets? So I'm really, really excited about that. Another player is Michael Carter II. Absolutely. Because I think if there was a player on this defense that Jets fans forgot about, it's him, because of the injuries he suffered last year. You look at what he's done throughout his entire career with the Jets. He got paid, remember, last year, right before the season began, as the top paid corner in the league. Slot corner. So I'm intrigued to see what he looks like with this Jets team, because MC2 proved that he could be the best nickel in the league if he has a successful, healthy season. And now this is a brand new coaching staff, so I'm curious to see his role in the nickel. Is he going to be used in a different way? Very, very excited, man. Very, very excited. Fields, 1 rush touchdown. Brees Hall, 1 rush touchdown week 1. Hey, that would be great. Appreciate you, man. So I think that Will McDonald, Michael Carter II, Jamie Sherwood. Now let's go to the offensive side of the ball. Who are some guys that we're looking at on offense in training camp? More specifically in training camp, right? There's a lot of guys. You know, we started off with the offensive line, and we know about Justin Fields. But there's some guys I'm intrigued by. And we're going to have to start with the rookie. Because if there's one player I think has the chance to break out as an actual impactful player on this football team right away as a rookie, it is Mason Taylor. 100%. You talk about a rookie that I don't think I've ever had this much confidence in a rookie before, to go out there and make plays in their first season. Like, is that normal? Should I tame my expectations, chat? Like, what do you think? Because I look at Mason Taylor and I'm like, he should put up 750 receiving yards and 5+ touchdowns. Like, that's how talented he is. That's how pro ready he feels. And we also have a quarterback that loves tight ends. And we also have a system coming from Detroit that is extremely tight end friendly. Like, I think that you're going to look up at the box score every week and realize it's Garrett Wilson leading the way, and then number 2 in receiving yards is going to be Mason Taylor. Like, the receiver position is the next topic in terms of very intrigued to see the competition at wide receiver, because that is what is going to be who's making the team. Who's making the team at wide receiver. But Mason Taylor, everyone's wondering, oh, we don't have a number 2 receiver. We don't have a number 2 receiver. We do have a number 2 receiver. His name is Mason Taylor. So that's exciting. But when it comes to the Jets wide receiver group, who's going to emerge? Who's going to get cut? Like, let's talk about some cut candidates, right? The first cut candidate I have to talk about, and I don't want to say he's a cut candidate, but you got to bring him up as a potential cut candidate because he was not drafted here by this regime, and I don't know, and he was injured in OTAs already, and the Jets are going to cut a player on this at this wide receiver position. That's not going to be an easy decision, and that's Malachi Corley. I think that he's on the roster bubble. He needs, talk about somebody who needs to have a good training camp. Malachi Corley needs to have the best training camp of his life because you got so many players at this position that's going to be competing. Outside of Garrett Wilson, you're going to have Josh Reynolds. He's a lock to make the team. Lazard, most likely a lock to make the team. I know that pisses people off. That's 3 receivers. And then you talk about the young guys, right? Xavier Gipson, he's going to be competing. Malachi Corley, he'll be competing. Arian Smith, he'll be competing. Tyler Johnson. So you see how many players there are? That's how many receivers? Garrett Wilson, Reynolds, Lazard, Corley, Gipson, Smith, and that's 7. 7 or 8 receivers. The Jets are not going to keep 7 or 8 receivers going into the season. They're going to have to make a really tough decision in cutting a Tyler Johnson, perhaps. Cutting an Xavier Gipson, perhaps. Cutting a Malachi Corley. Could Arian Smith be the guy to break out? I would love that. But it's really intriguing to see who the real cut candidates is going to be. And I'm just so fired up for training camp. It's my favorite time of the year as a fan. It's one of my favorite times of the year as a content creator. I love going to practices and seeing what happens with my own eyes and going and creating content and letting you guys know all the ins and outs of Jets camp. But, man, I'm really excited to see what Aaron Glenn got in store for us at training camp this year. You guys let me know if I missed anything that you want me to talk about in a future video, future live show. Big time shout out to Bleacher Report, as always, going live every single Wednesday at 6 p.m. EST. Won't be on Bleacher Report for the next few weeks, but we will be back and talking things Jets. Jets, Jets, all throughout the regular season, baby, which is right around the corner. Let's go, Jets. Peace out. Just wrapped up on Bleacher Report. Let me give a big shout out to the chat. More specifically, my boy Jets Lunatic with a $2 super chat. Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much. And just a reminder, when we're live on Bleacher Report, I can't really be as connected to the live chat as I usually am. But I want to give a shout out to Jets Lunatic because we really do appreciate the super chats here on the channel. And Fields having a rushing touchdown and Brees Hall having a rushing touchdown. Does that mean there's a W involved? Because that's all that matters to me. I want a W that day, which is Jets Media Day, by the way. Make sure you guys go get your tickets because tickets are on sale and they are going to run out before you know it. So make sure you guys go get your Jets Media Day 2025 tickets. Week number 1, baby. Ooh, it's going to be fun. So, all right, folks, I'm going to wrap up the show here. Thank you guys so much. We got a fun video releasing tomorrow on the channel. So make sure you guys stay tuned. Do I know which days I'm going? Not yet. Going to try to hit as many as I can, though. I can tell you that. Absolutely. So, I'll see you guys later. Much love, and let's go Jets. Training camp content is about to be wild. I'm about to do something I've never done before in terms of, you'll see. I'll just say that. Love you guys.